More and more women, especially women over 40, maybe divorced, maybe with kids, are saying no to cohabitating with their partners. Not because they don't love them, but because they've lived with a romantic partner before and they don't want to do it again. And if you've ever shared a home with a partner, you really might understand the appeal. Would you do it? Would you be part of a long-term committed relationship where you lived apart? Let's talk about why women might be opting for LAT, living apart together relationships, and why, for many of us, it just makes more sense. Okay, let's be real. Many studies show that marriage, at least in the traditional sense, where we move in, merge lives together, share kids, share toothpaste, share chores, was never really designed with women's happiness in mind. As families have evolved, it's left women carrying the weight of so much. Housework, childcare, emotional labor, you name it. There's been many studies done about how women can work a full-time job and then come home and do a whole second shift. Liz Lenz, in her book, This American Ex-Wife, breaks it down perfectly. She talks about how marriage, even today, still expects women to be the project manager of the household, even when they're working full-time, even when they're exhausted. Studies show that even in equal marriages, women do the majority of housework and childcare. And in the documentary Fair Play, you can see couples where the husband and wife have similar jobs, but after the workday, the husband kind of retires to their study and the wife makes dinner and cares for the kids. So when women get divorced, a lot of them take a step back and think, why would I sign up for that again? And it is a fair question. Let's look at women over 40, women who are divorced, women who've had their kids. They've already done the marriage thing. They know how to manage a household. They're managing a household. They might still have their kids there, but they have a routine with them. They have a rhythm. They're at a point in their lives where they've built their own space, their own independence. So when they re-enter the dating world, the idea of moving in with a partner again, that might be a hard pass. Because why? They have their kids, they don't want to upend their routine, or bring in another adult where now we have to figure out who can make up rules and what is our approach to parenting. A lot of moms want to make those decisions on their own or with their ex and not bring a third person into the dynamic. They also might be resistant because a lot of women have built a home that feels good to them. They might feel comfortable there. So why disrupt it? If I like sitting at home with my remote, deciding what I'm going to watch on TV, why do I want to have to share that remote with someone 7 days a week when I could share it maybe 3. And this is not to say women don't want love. They want love. They want connection. They want deep, meaningful, committed relationships. They just might not want to live with their partner. And that's what brings us to living apart together. Instead of moving in together, a couple stays committed without sharing a household. And for women, that setup can be a game changer. Each person maintains their own space. So it limits the amount of arguing that can happen over chores, over clutter, over where you set the thermostat at 68 or 75, over leaving lights on or turning them off, over the importance of shutting the garage door and locking every door at night. All those issues are significantly lessened, and the household labor stays balanced. Each partner runs their own life and their own space, and time together stays intentional. Instead of sort of defaulting to let's lay on the couch and scroll on our phones, you actually keep making plans of what to do when you're together. You can be focused on your couple time. You can maintain creativity for what you're going to do when you're together. It's going to take longer to become complacent. And there's no forced step-parent roles. Women with kids don't have to feel pressured to blend their families before they're ready, or ever. You can remain living apart together until the kids are in college or married. And honestly, a lot of women who've done LAT report higher relationship satisfaction than when they've lived with a partner. They feel less resentful, less overworked, and more excited about the time that they do spend with their partner. Okay, so let's talk about money, because that is a big issue for divorced women. When you live separately, you maintain control over your finances. If you were able to afford an apartment or a house before, you can still do that when you're living apart together. No worrying about whether your partner's financial habits are going to affect your savings. And no arguing about financial resources. You can still chart your own course financially. A lot of divorced women have built financial security all on their own, and they don't want to risk losing it again. LIT allows them to keep their assets separate while still maintaining a loving relationship. And budgeting stays easier. If you're a single mom, you already have a system that works for you. Your bills, your expenses, your budget for the kids, and adding another adult to the mix can really complicate things. I have my own ledger of what I bring in and what I spend every month. I know how to do it. If someone else comes in, they might want to change things up, and that could be a headache. In LAT relationships, women are less likely to fall into the role of financial caretaker. There's no assumption that one person will pick up the slack for the other financially. there's less of a risk of financial codependency. So for a lot of women, LAT isn't just an emotional choice, it can also be a smart financial one. Okay, and this is huge. The best part of LAT relationships, they keep the spark alive longer. Think about it. What kills passion in a long-term relationship? Familiarity, routine, the slow erosion of mystery. When you get to know your partner very well, there's trust and familiarity, but there's not a lot of mystery. Esther Perel, one of the world's top relationship experts, says that love thrives on closeness, but desire needs distance. When you collapse the space between two people, you also collapse the erotic. Distance brings eroticism. To turn up the heat, to feel arousal and desire and the erotic, you need to invite in mystery. And that's a big balance that a lot of people who live together in long-term relationships have to deal with. When you live with someone, you see them every day. You hear them snoring. You watch them brush their teeth. You know their bad habits. You have the conversations about what's for dinner, what are we going to do this week, what do you want to watch on TV? And after a while, excitement can fade. But in an LAT relationship, it's going to take longer for that to fade. You can maintain just enough space to keep things fresh. You might dress up for dates together instead of like falling on the couch in sweatpants. You might miss each other when you're not seeing each other for a couple of days, instead of taking one another for granted. And you'll feel anticipation instead of routine. And research backs this up. Studies show that couples who maintain some level of independence, whether it's separate bedrooms, separate vacations, or even separate homes, report a higher level of sexual satisfaction than those who don't. So if you're wondering if LAT makes relationships less intimate, it's actually the opposite. It keeps the passion alive longer because there's that element of reuniting, of coming back together. And it's exciting. Now, certainly this isn't for everyone. And if your partner's resistant, you have to be willing to collaborate and find a situation that's best for you. But I'm interested in what you think. If you're a woman over 40, divorced, if you met someone tomorrow and in a year they wanted to move in together, how would you feel? Is the idea of living apart together intriguing? Or do you still really love the idea of sharing a home with your partner? Let me know in the comments below. I think living together is great, especially if you have kids. But if you're in the middle of raising a family, or if you've raised a family, sometimes that idea of having your own space can also be very attractive. So let me know.